Hi everybody, today we have the privilege of studying 2 Chronicles chapter 14, and if you would like the free PDF, there's a link down in the description where you can get it. We need to start off, as always, by talking about when these events happened. Well, we need to know about King Asa and his reign. We're going to talk about King Asa of Judah. He reigns for 41 years, 4 decades. His reign fits within the window of 960 to 910 BC, somewhere within there. Now to our key character section. We have Abijah, who we're not going to talk about a whole lot, but he was Asa's father, and he was also the son of Rehoboam. He was king of Judah before Asa takes over. Now we talk about Asa. He's the son of Abijah. As I mentioned, reigns for quite a long time in Judah and is quite significant. And then we have a guy named Zerah, who we don't know a whole lot about. He's just introduced in this chapter. Zerah was an Ethiopian, so he's from Africa. And he attacked Judah with a huge army. That takes us over to our map. Where did these events happen? Well, the battle between Zerah the Ethiopian and Judah took place in a location known as the Valley of Saphatha, which is at Marashah. And I've added Marashah to our map for your educational benefit. You'll see it up towards the north of the territory of Judah. Let's talk about King Asa a little bit and his reign over Judah in verses 1 through 7. So after Abijah's death, Asa took over as the king of Judah. And the text says, quote, "He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord." So we have a good king for once. One of the few over the kingdoms of Judah and Israel. If you were with us for our first king study, you'll know Judah had a few good kings. Israel, the northern kingdom, they didn't have a single good king. So Asa is one of the good ones, at least for this part of his reign. He tore down all the foreign altars and the places of idol worship that had been brought into Judah. He commanded Judah to serve the Lord and to keep the Lord's commands. And under his leadership, God blessed the people of Judah with 10 years of peace and prosperity. Our second section of this short chapter of just 15 verses, the Ethiopians attack the nation of Judah. So after a decade of peace, Zerah, an Ethiopian, brought a massive army to fight against the people of Judah, 1,000,000 men and 300 chariots. Now, Asa's army was not insignificant. He had 580,000 men, but certainly that was nowhere near the size of Zerah's army. He's almost outmanned by a multiple of 2. The battle lines were drawn at this place called the Valley of Zaphatha at Marashah, as we just mentioned. Asa cried out to the Lord for help. He knew that he needed God's help to win this victory, and God answered his prayer. Judah defeated Zerah's army, quote, until none remained alive. And we're told that the army of Judah carried off significant amounts of plunder back to Jerusalem. So no doubt this battle enriched the nation. So that's all we've got, just 15 verses, very short for 2 Chronicles chapter 14. And that brings us to our application. It's an application about how we should see God's work, both in the ancient days and in the modern days. It's important to remember that God was actively shaping other nations, even though the Bible is primarily focused on his involvement with Judah and Israel. So that's what gets highlighted. But God was very much active in the other nations. We can see that in part here in this chapter. Question, why would God allow the Ethiopians to bring 1,000,000 men up to Judah just to be defeated? Just for Judah to win this war. Why did the people of Judah have to fight that battle at all? Well, you could say, God was enriching Judah. God was enriching Judah, and I think that was certainly true. And we can't know all the details of why God permitted this to happen, but in some way, I think we can confidently say that God was using these events to also shape the trajectory of the African continent, which the Bible speaks very little about. But no doubt, the defeat of 1,000,000-man army and the significant weakening of this guy named Zerah and his influence in Africa would have shaped that continent in significant ways. I don't doubt that God still uses some of these things, wars, rebellions, revolutions, to shape the national landscape. Sometimes we look at these wars, they feel pointless, they feel like they have no meaning. But probably God is actually doing something quite significant that we just aren't able to see because we can't see all the variables. We also can't see into the future. It's always important to remember that there was a lot that God was doing in the ancient days, and there's a lot that God is doing in the modern day that we aren't given the details about. So we need to stay humble in our knowledge and recognize that God's doing a lot in the world, and I know very, very little. So what I need to do is just follow the words and the instructions that he's given me, and he'll take care of the rest.